Hey, what's going on? My name is Bim, and this is the WGP13 right there by Fantech, the Shooter II. Now, it's been a while since I did one of these reviews because, you know, new job and the kid, she's 2.5, so it requires a little bit more time. But yeah, I'm happy to have carved out some time tonight to be able to do this. I reviewed the Shooter 1, the GP11. So the W in the WGP stands for wireless. And I hated that thing. That thing was terrible. That thing had acceleration issues. I couldn't aim worth a damn with that thing. So does the WGP13, does the Shooter 2 redeem it? Well, you know, spoilers, but sort of. All right. Inside the box is a manual. You've got, I think this is in Chinese. Oh no, it's in English. Nice. It's been a while since I've seen this manual. This thing has been with me for like 1.5 years. And then inside the clamshell, you've got the controller itself. I've got the blue one. I like the color. It also comes with actually a surprisingly nice USB-C cable and the dongle. All right, let's take the physical tour. So the shell is blue. Obviously, I think it comes in a couple colors, or 3. Does it come in white? I'm not sure. So I think it comes in black and blue. That I'm sure of. I'll write in text if I figure out that that's wrong later on. You've got face buttons here, ABXY, which is the Xbox layout. The height of the buttons isn't too raised from the shell. If you've seen any of my past videos, my preference is that the buttons be as flush against the shell as possible. Sort of like the DualShock, the DualSense and the DualShock 4, it's really close to the shell, almost flush. That's how I prefer it. But this isn't as bad as most third-party controllers that I see. It's still pretty good. It's got the asymmetrical layout, which means it's like the Xbox 360 Xbox style, where the stick is on where you would have your left thumb more often than not, and then the D-pad is here. Because of the layout, I dislike playing fighting games on this thing. The D-pad is, you know, accurate enough. More about that later, but like just because of the layout, I don't like playing Street Fighter or Tekken on this thing. You've got home here. That's what you press to enable the device. You've got options. Well, select and start. It's labeled select and start, but you know, modern consoles, this would be like options and menu. And then you've got turbo and clear. To set a turbo, you hold down turbo, you press the button, and then you let go. Then if you want to clear the turbo, you press clear, the button that you want to clear, and then release. Up top, you've got USB-C. Hallelujah for USB-C. Bumpers and your triggers. The bumpers and triggers are of okay quality. The plastic isn't great. Like, they kind of feel like toys, but you know, considering the price, it's not too bad. The price actually, you know what? Yes, the price. Talk about that. How much is it? Yeah, so it's 1,200 pesos, around $22, $21 and change. The quality is good for the price range. So even though these plastic buttons and the triggers don't feel, you know, best quality, the shell is actually pretty nice quality, to be honest, especially for the price. It has better quality than it has any right to be at that price point, if you know what I mean. In terms of comfort, it's actually a pretty comfortable controller. So you've got this ridge here that lets you, you know, rest your thumb, and it works fairly well. There is a bit of sharpness here, and I like my DualShock 4s where it's a bit more rounded. It's a bit sharp here, but I've never really thought it was uncomfortable while playing it. Unlike the DualSense, the tips here are actually really sharp, and I hate running my like accidentally hitting my fingers on it, which happens more than I'd like to admit. In terms of size, it's actually pretty compact. Again, I'm going to bring the DualSense for comparison, just because it's the closest one to me. As you can see, the DualSense is quite a bit longer, and you see the difference in size, quite a bit thicker as well, and way heavier. This thing is actually light enough to be considered a lightweight controller. Let's talk about performance and function. So the buttons are actually pretty springy, and they're decent to press. They're not too loud either. So they're pretty good. They're pretty good buttons. Face buttons are okay. The D-pad is accurate. It's accurate enough to actually play fighting games on, but because of the configuration, I don't really recommend it. Plus the travel distance between, I'm sure there are people who are going to get used to the travel distance. If you play on something long enough, it wouldn't bother you, but the travel distance between each directional button is quite far. So let's say you're going to do an electric. From here, you go down here, and then down forward is pretty far. So it's pretty hard to get used to if you're used to something like the DualShock 4. The sticks are, so far, so I had it for a year, right? More than a year and change. The sticks have yet to exhibit any drift. No drift. Like if you look at this, it is dead center and it's not moving, right? Plus, I like that how fast it snaps back to neutral. The sticks themselves have these grooves around the edges, and that actually provides a bit more grip, a bit of grip that I like. It's also rubberized the top, which I find very easy to use, very comfortable and very, very grippy. However, in terms of accuracy, so my problem with its predecessor, the Shooter 1, was the accuracy, right? For something that was called the Shooter 1, it was incredibly inaccurate. I am finding the same issues with the Shooter 2. The acceleration is just a little too fast for me to be as accurate as I'd like. Like, it's hard to control small movements. And this thing doesn't come with software, right? So you can't adjust that. Maybe you could adjust it like elsewhere on like third-party software, but out of the packaging, it doesn't do that. And there's just acceleration on this thing that I can't quite get the handle of. But again, with enough practice, I'm sure people who use this thing religiously would get used to it. It's just not something like I personally jump from controller to controller, and I find that there's a happy medium. And this is like way beyond the acceleration speed, not way beyond, like it's beyond the acceleration speed of most third-party controllers. The bumpers I really like because they're quiet. They're very quiet. Have you heard the Xbox Series X bumpers? They are obnoxiously loud. These things barely make a sound. The triggers also snap back quite nicely, and the travel distance isn't too far, so it's pretty good for shooting games. So the shoulder buttons on this thing, pretty good. So the one thing I will praise about this controller, and I think it's really impressive, especially given that it's got like a 600 milliamp hour battery. I think 600 or 900. Yeah, 600 mAh. Its battery life is insane, and it has rumble. It vibrates. Not as accurately as like a DualShock 4, it doesn't have those nuances, those subtle small vibrations, but it lasts for so long. Like admittedly I don't use it as my daily driver, but I use it like for an hour a week or so, and it lasts me a couple months just on one charge. And that's mind-blowing. I really, especially now that everyone's using the DualSense controller, that thing dies almost immediately. This thing lasts so long, and that's amazing. For latency, I didn't feel like it was necessary to do a latency test the same way I do with other devices where I press a button and I count the frames. I didn't feel that was necessary to do anymore because there is no noticeable lag. I play the same game on the same system with multiple controllers, and there's no noticeable difference in latency. Can you play wired? Yes, you can. All you have to do is connect the USB-C there, and you can actually unplug the dongle, and you can play wired if you want to. And is there noticeable difference between wired and wireless latency? There's none. So that's pretty good. So again, $20 to $22, 1,200 pesos from Shopee, from wherever. It's an okay controller. I guess okay. So there was one time that I was doing a trial, like a time trial on Gotham Knights. I was using this. I was having a really hard time. I don't know why. I think it was all the turns and because of the way it accelerates, which I don't like. I switched to the DualShock 4 and I got it like the first try. So that could be a case-to-case thing. It could just be a fluke. I don't know. You know, take that for what that's worth. But at 20 bucks, right? 22 bucks. It's a decent controller, lasts a long time, good buttons, good accuracy on the D-pad. There is a bit of acceleration issue when you're going to be playing shooting games, or actually any games that require you to be precise. But it's not anything you can't get used to. But at that price point, this thing is really good. Would it beat the 8BitDo Pro 2 as the reasonably priced third-party controller that I would recommend over anything else? No, not at all. That thing is still a beast. But if you want to save a little money, you want, you know, backup controller in your bag, this is, you know, pretty good. All right, thank you guys for watching. If you found this video helpful, leave a like, comment, subscribe. You know what to do. I'll see you guys in the next one.